Welcome to the Excitable Gentleman, a podcast where we talk about all things in the arena of pop culture, whether they be movies, TV, games, sometimes, whatever. Hi,
What's up, people?
I'm Brandon.
I'm Denard.
Indeed.
Yeah. Let's talk about this fucking Motown.
Okay. Unceremoniously, let's talk about the ceremony. Yeah.
Well-
What are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
let's just say this: that first off, shout out to a lot of the winners for the Grammys. A lot of them did big this year. Cardi B, very proud. Like I said, now while the album wasn't for me, I have seen the growth, and I'm very proud. And she deserved it. She actually came up.
She's look. I mean, it's like one of those things where you can give her shit all you want, but she's doing it. She's putting in the work.
Exactly. She actually was hungry. She wanted it. And while, like I said, it's not the most amazing lyrically,
Sure.
but for her to just start doing this literally 3 years ago, like I said, as being as an unabashed hip hop head as I am, seeing the growth. And like I said, I couldn't stand Cardi B when she came out.
Mm-hmm.
Still not for me, but god damn it, that bitch, she made it. I'm very proud of her. Like, you know what? She made it on the come up. She's actually doing good music that people enjoy.
Even if I don't like it, I respect it.
Yeah, and she's one of the people that all she wants to do is see everybody else grow also.
Yeah.
So that's always nice and refreshing that she's still competitive, but she doesn't try to down anybody. So,
But what's not refreshing?
oh, no, was that goddamn Motown tribute. I just didn't watch the award show because I don't watch award shows, but got on the Twitters, happened to see everybody talking about J-Lo performing, and I was like, why the fuck is J-Lo doing a tribute for Motown, number one? But then I was like, it couldn't have been that bad. And then I watched, I didn't even finish it, to be honest with you.
I didn't watch it to begin with.
I got 5 minutes in, and I was like, no, just had to turn it off. It was... So the one thing that's synonymous with Motown is soul. Is the music comes out of there, it invokes a feeling. It makes you... Sometimes it makes you want to cry. Sometimes it lightens you. But it always gives you something. Her performance was just... It was like... I don't want to say mediocre because that's giving it too much. It's not that it was bad.
You
but
nothinged it. It didn't elicit any kind of emotional response other than,
Annoyance.
I guess, being off-put.
It was annoyance. That and the fact that they had motherfucking Janelle Monáe there. Janelle motherfucking
And she
Monáe.
killed it.
And
Yeah.
they let J-Lo do it. It's just...
Yeah,
especially and I would just say this, especially during Black History fucking month. Like, the optics on that shit. She didn't even fucking thank Berry Gordy. She thanked her mother. Like, you know how fucking annoying that shit is? It's just like, no. This is another one of those things where it's like, I know what you were going for. You should have just stopped. You should have called your black people in and was like, hey, how's this going to look? Like, so this is before. You got to have at least one black friend that can come in and just like, hey, this ain't it.
I was going to say, you know what, they should have asked Quincy Jones what he thought, but then now that I think about it for 2 seconds, he would have been like, sure, I don't care. Because he just doesn't give a shit at this point.
Exactly.
So that's not a good weather vane, I suppose, for what is and isn't preferable or acceptable.
Yeah. But just one more reason why. That's pretty much another long list of the reasons why I don't watch any of the award shows.
Well,
Just...
I care less and less, although I'm still a fan of the Oscars, although that being said, I don't care about that as much anymore in light of they don't know what the fuck they're doing, truly. They have no idea what they're doing. They keep taking stuff away, and then people are like, what are you doing? And they take it, they put it, reinstate it, or the opposite, like with the most popular movie thing. And then people are like, no. And so they're like, okay. And then Kevin Hart's going to host. No. Backlash. Okay. And then maybe he will, but then he won't. And then it was, we're not going to have any live musical performances. Then people were like, what? And then they were, okay. And then they reinstate that. And then now the latest being, we have 4 categories we're not going to be broadcasting live. Those being cinematography, editing, 2, giant fucking important elements of what it is to make films, period. And then makeup, which is also important, and live action short film. And within a day and a half or 2 days, so many people came out against that. Not just like quote unquote regular people, but also titans of the industry. And so they were like, okay, and then they reinstated it. So they, to me, that's incredibly off-putting because they don't know what the fuck they want to do or how to do it. And in my mind, I don't want to support that because I don't want to encourage whatever they're doing.
And see, this is for me a sign of the times because this is actually a sign that they have not gotten with the times. It was the reason why. It's the reason why there was the whole big thing with Oscar So White years ago that they have the same people for the last God knows how long doing the same exact shit year after year after year and not actually listening and saying, well, what is it that the people actually want to see? What is it that they actually care about? Because we're the ones actually showing this for them. It would be different if the Oscars was never televised and it was just simply
Which back in the day
thing.
it wasn't at all.
But when you have an award show and you're televising it for everyone else, it's like you need to appeal to those people. Well, I don't watch any award shows because they don't do anything that appeal to me. I don't watch the Grammys because they don't give hip hop awards for shit. And I would just say this too, Donald Glover, you know good and goddamn well you shouldn't have won that fucking Grammy. I don't give a fuck. That fucking song it pisses me off to no end to this day just because of what it got turned into. You cowered out on it. You still cool and all, but
yeah,
fuck you on that one. But either way, it's just they don't do anything different. And all they keep thinking of are the same fucking ideas. And then when backlash comes, it's like, oh, well, maybe we should start listening. But then...
Which even then they're not. Doing. They're still not.
Yeah, they just go about what they think is best. It's like, get some new blood on the team.
No, I agree.
Like, that's all it takes.
But hey, speaking of new blood, news came out from Matt Reeves, who's the writer-director of the upcoming new Batman movie, at least currently titled The Batman, which is slated for a 2020 release. I think 2020 release. And then Affleck came out and said that, yeah, he's not going to be a part of it. I mean, but that seemed like a foregone conclusion at that point. Nothing terribly shocking there. So the point being that there's a new Batman that's going to be cast. And the question is, who is that going to be?
Yeah, I'm kind of excited about it.
I'm intrigued by it. It's not going to be an origin story, by the way.
That's what made me more excited about it.
Yes.
Was they're giving Batman the Spider-Man treatment where we don't have to get the origin story.
And just to give background too, Reeves stated in an interview that the movie will feature, quote, an almost noir-driven detective version of Batman that will emphasize the heart and mind of the character and will take inspiration from Alfred Hitchcock, which is interesting, and I find that terribly intriguing personally. But the emphasis itself on the detective element, which doesn't seem like it's really been given its due yet in films.
No, none of the films have actually given Batman like anything detective wise, which
let alone the quote unquote world's greatest detective.
Yeah. So how do you want to jump into this?
Well, yeah, I guess all this is to say that we have people we'd like to see cast.
Yeah, we got our own list of folks for Batman, and I have a few ideas on.
And I've got some.
Oh, you got real notes.
but kind of. But I've got also some thoughts on who could play the Penguin, which is kind of a rumor as a possible villain for this, and the Riddler, and like one person for the Joker. But I'm kind of tired of the Joker at this point, so I didn't really feel terribly inspired to come up with a bunch on that. But for background too, obviously you have exponentially more understanding of what the character is from the comic book standpoint, which in turn would make it a good adaptation for movies. And I just have, I guess, what I would like. But some of the key traits that are listed for the comic books are a major key trait of his is inexhaustible wealth, because that helps kind of even level the playing field to some degree, because he's not a superhero.
Yeah.
You know, in that he's very strong, but that's because he's in peak physical condition. but it's not that he's like Superman or anything like that. So inexhaustible wealth, peak human conditioning. I didn't realize this genius level intelligence
Yes.
to the point where Superman considers him to be one of the most brilliant minds on the earth. He's a polymath, so he has expertise in countless disciplines, including but not limited to. He's one of the world's greatest detectives, possibly greatest crime solvers. Master of virtually every form of martial arts, master of disguise, expert in espionage, multilingual, expert in interrogation and intimidation. One key element of him as a character is his unyielding moral rectitude, his strong commitment to justice, and reluctance to take a life. It's kind of like a core feature of him, correct? No?
It is now, but Batman killed a lot of folks. Actually, he still kills people all the time.
Okay, fair enough. I know last bit that I have is unstoppable will and determination. In the comic books, he's listed as being about 6'2", 210 pounds.
Yeah, which
I mean, that I'm sure that varies per whatever adaptation or run or version of him comes, but he's on the bigger side.
Well, I mean, for the movies, it doesn't really matter so
No,
much.
the people that I have in mind, by the way, are range and height, but none of them are small, but none of them are necessarily like 8 feet tall either, so it kind of ranges for me. But according to Matt Reeves, he said it's going to be a younger Batman, which I think what that means is not necessarily mid-20s or early 20s young Batman, but I think it means younger than Ben Affleck Batman.
Yeah, which, like I told, we actually talked about it off podcast, but Batman's only supposed to be like, well, the current run of Batman. He's only supposed to be in his early 30s, like around 32. Yeah, around like 32 is about how old he's supposed to be. Actually, all the characters are supposed to be about that age. Like, look estimated between 30s to like early 40s for most of them.
And that's all my people happen to be in that range of between 30 and up to like 42. So I've got like 5 or 6 possibilities. What do you want me to put one out there, or you, or?
Let's go ahead and throw yours out there, because like I said, mine, we're not sticking to the tradition. So
okay,
yeah,
cool. I'm just gonna put this one out there because it's the one that when I present to somebody, got the most pushback. But I think it's a fair thought. I think Robert Pattinson would be really good. And here's the thing.
No.
I know the Twilight snake is gonna be all over him. That's the problem. I think dude's a really good actor. I don't care that much, so I'm not going to defend it that hard, but I think he's really good. And he's been in a movies called like The Rover and Damsel and Good Time, and that dude is putting in the work, and I think he could really do it.
See, that's the thing. He doesn't have, I'll just be honest, he doesn't have the charisma for Batman.
I could see that.
Like, that's the thing.
That is a major element. I mean, both to the Bruce Wayne and Batman part, you have to have.
Well, it's primarily the Bruce Wayne thing, because you got to remember that Bruce Wayne is the costume.
Yes.
That Batman's the real guy now. So like, he's supposed to be this playboy that always out in the town. He's always, even though he flaunts his money, everybody still wants to be him. Everybody still likes being around him.
Sure.
So it's maybe, but for me, he just doesn't.
I can see that.
He just doesn't have.
Well, I wanted to throw this one out to get that out of the way. I do think he could play the role. But to your point, the Bruce Wayne part, the one thing I realized that when I was trying to come up with people was, this is really fucking hard to cast. I really think it is. Part of that, mind you, is the fact that so many actors are already taken by comic book movies. And so if somebody has been in a comic book movie, or depending on how big their role was in it, they can still be cast. But some of these people that are like Captain America or whatever roles, they cannot be cast, in my mind. So that takes a lot of people out immediately. So the people I have never been in a comic book movie.
Okay.
And that's tough.
And see, most of mine actually have. Actually, all mine have, I think. Yeah, actually, all mine have.
Okay. So Robert Pattinson, then there's that. What do you have?
So, my first one is actually J.K. Simmons. So.
Okay.
J.K. Simmons once, I believe they were making the announcement. It was whenever Batman versus Superman first got released. Well, it was first kind of in production, and they didn't reveal who Batman was yet. but they said that they had casted J.K. Simmons as one of the roles. He ended up being Commissioner Gordon. Well, the thing is, there is a comic book in the New 52 series where Batman dies. And essentially the government co-ops a new Batman. And they decide that the one that should be the new Batman, because he knew him the best, how he worked, was Commissioner Gordon. So there's a picture of him actually working out, and he is fucking jacked.
No, he's jacked, 100%. And yeah, he got really big.
This one was more. This one's a little bit more sci-fi detective oriented, where, and this is where we talked about before. I tried to think of a Robin. I couldn't think of one so much, but with that version, he still had a Batman uniform, but it was more of a. It was more like a kind of like a skin tight tactical suit type of deal. He didn't have a cape. He didn't have anything else. He actually used a gun, but he was still doing the detective thing. But his backup was a mech suit named Rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Stood about probably like 8 feet tall, and it actually talked to him. So that would actually work out as the Robin role. It still gives a detective story. He's not going to be the traditional Batman. He still doesn't kill because he's still the good guy. He's the cop. But it can work off of the whole. Essentially, they can kill off Ben Affleck's Batman and just keep it going through this way.
That's interesting.
So that way,
I wouldn't be averse to that at all. I like the idea of it.
And I wish that I might be able to end up posting up some of the images and everything else for it. But like I said, when it actually, and I'm actually showing Brandon how it looked out, but the story went well with it. And it was mostly him trying to actually find out about the murder of Batman and what all happened to him. So it can lead into more of a detective story to finding out what really happened.
And allegedly, the part of the plot revolves around Batman solving a crime.
Yeah, so that's the thing. If the real Batman's dead now, and they want to go with something different, why not go a non-traditional route? Because we've already seen fucking Batman God knows how many times. This way you still get the Batman story. You can still include all the shit from the DCEU that failed that can still work in its favor. And you can actually have a good cast. Because J.K. Simmons, he's fucking amazing.
He's great.
So.
That'd be really cool. So, man, I feel so uninspired now compared with the people that I came up with. Aren't that impressive now? But here we go anyway. The guy I would really like to see in the role, he's 41. Joel Egerton.
Joel Egerton.
He was in the movie Warrior. He was in the movie Midnight Special.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think he'd be great.
Isn't he the guy that was the he was the agent in oh, okay, no, never mind. I was thinking of the guy from Shape of Water.
Oh, you know what, Michael Shannon?
Yeah.
Who played Zod?
Yeah. Joe Egerton, okay.
I think he'd be really good.
Something about his face though.
That's fair. Look, he's got a boxery look to him.
Yeah.
But I think he'd be fantastic because he can play. He's got presence. He can absolutely do the Batman thing easily. I think he could do Bruce Wayne absolutely. He's a bit bigger. He's 5'11". Listed as 5'11". He's built. He's really good at understated roles too. Mm-hmm. Really good at that. Midnight Special will show that off. I think he's so talented. I think he'd be really good in that role. And to me, that'd be probably my favorite of the people I came up with.
I can kind of see it. And see, the thing is, though, just when I look at the castings, I always think of what storylines could they actually fit into.
Yeah, and that's fair.
Huh.
Yeah, I thought that'd be interesting.
That is interesting.
He's actually 44, which is way off, which is 1 or 2 years younger than Ben Affleck. But still, he doesn't look 44.
Yeah.
But I think he'd be really good. I think that'd be really cool.
Okay. My second one is actually, now this is the one I talked to you about before, that there is, you have to forgive me because I couldn't find the fucking Twitter thread. I wish I could, but okay. I'll give him a shout out later on the page. But Daniel Kaluuya.
I had him at 1.2.
And I made it either Daniel Kaluuya or John Boyega. just because I know Daniel Kaluuya, he's already with Marvel, so more than likely there couldn't be any switching of the two. Although I don't know if he's
I don't think
contracted
that's
with them
necessarily
for.
true. Yeah.
As I don't know if he's contracted with just their movies because I know they've mentioned some people in the past have been. But
Yeah, I don't know. There's some kind of exclusivity thing or some form of like non-compete clause in his
yeah,
contract that prevent that. But there have been absolutely been people going from DC to Marvel and vice versa. I mean, shit. Jaimin Hunsu has been in like 15 of these things at this point, so it's possible. And his role was significant, but also not
yeah, he's not.
necessary. I think the jump could be there, and I would love to see him more than John Boyega, 10 times out of 10.
And now the reason why I casted them was because on the thread he even mentioned it, and we've said it for years that. So, I told you before I don't watch black people struggle movies. Not doing it. Ain't gonna do it no more. There's nothing intrinsically about Batman that makes that he has to be white.
Yeah.
So, for DC, they're failing. Just Aquaman is pulling them a little bit out, but they have failed so many times.
Critically, yes, their movies make money though.
They make money, but no one gives a shit after a while. So it's like, they have a decent run and then they're clamoring, trying to figure some shit out.
Well, it's a matter of like, yes, they make money, and that's ultimately all the studios give a shit about. But in terms of like cultural significance, they don't have. They have whatever they have is temporary.
Yeah, but since, like I said, there's nothing intrinsically about Batman that is entrenched in him being a white male.
Sure.
So, with that, there's so many more nuances that go into place if you cast a Daniel Kaluuya, a John Boyega, hell, even a Chadwick Boseman would still work. But
See, I would have wanted Chadwick Boseman, but obviously that can never happen.
and see, that's what I thought too. But my whole thing was, he's already Black Panther, James Brown, Jackie Robinson. I was like, I can't have him playing all of them. Like, we got to throw it out to a couple others.
And also, though, I think that Kaluuya, I think legitimately in terms of availability, and also like being able to switch from playing a character in the Marvel universe to playing this main character in a DC universe, I think that could realistically happen. Whereas obviously Boseman can never happen.
Yeah. Pretty much we already know Chadwick, he's stuck. He ain't going nowhere. But they, instead of it being a mugger, instead of being Joe Chill that killed Batman's parents, why can it be in that it's a cop? And the reason why he deals with Commissioner Gordon is because he's one of the few cops that actually helped him as a kid. So, especially in this culture, black people don't trust cops. So it'll actually make more sense that he became a vigilante. He wants to help, but he understands that a black man that's rich, that has money, and that the cops didn't help him because they didn't think that they were deserving of that because they didn't realize who they were. It would actually add more to that story that, well, this is the reason why he dresses up in this costume at night, because he has to protect himself. He wants to help, but he's also against the cops that he knows are corrupt, that don't help, because Batman don't go to the hood. Let's just say it. There's like 2 stories where Batman goes to the hood and that's it. So this would actually be a good change of pace for them, and it would actually blend more for the story instead of just being a rich, traumatized white dude that dresses up at night because he didn't go get therapy.
That'd be really interesting.
So, like I said, I'm going to give him shout outs on the page, but that right there, I think
great. It's a great call. I was thinking about that too, because to me, I think Kaluuya would be a great James Bond, but they'll never cast him, I don't think. And I think this would be a good way to bridge that gap.
And see, I'm still on the page of getting Idris Elba.
That'll never happen.
It wouldn't, but
Oh no, I think
Idris.
don't get me wrong, it should happen, but
Yeah.
it'll never happen. And that's because it's been talked about too much. And that's the whole thing with the Broccoli family. Literally, this is their only job, so they want to make a splash every time they cast somebody new. So that's what they talk about. The old kind of adage, so to speak, of Bond is that the more they talk about it, the more it's never going to happen, because it's all about it being a surprise and a shock and a splash. So I'm all about Idris Elba. It will never happen, though.
Nah.
But
what's your next one?
Kaluuya would be great. I would love to see him as both Bond and or Batman. Personally, I think that's a great call. I'm just gonna throw the one out there that I think is the most like he ticks all the boxes, but it probably means he won't get cast. Uh, Army Hammer, I think would be amazing.
I actually thought about Army Hammer.
I really think he'd be great.
And see,
He can play it.
And so I don't care for Army Hammer. I don't.
I do. I think he's really good.
But I was just like, I could envision him as Batman just looking at him, but I don't think it would be a good. The way that you feel about Shazam with Zachary Levi,
Really? Okay.
that's how I feel about Army Hammer.
Which is funny because because I think he should play Shazam.
No.
Of the two, absolutely.
No.
Zachary Levi is so boring to me. But in terms of me projecting my emotions towards Zachary Levi onto your perspective of Army Hammer, fair enough. I can understand that.
Yeah, it's just
Okay, I mean that's fair enough. I do think he'd be good in the role, and maybe it's one of those things where it's like too on the nose because it's like he does tick all the boxes, and maybe that's uninspiring. So fair enough. I can see that. Okay.
So.
And by the way, I mean, Army Hammer was at one point slated to play Superman in that Justice League movie that they were going to make like 15 years ago with George Miller was going to make it. And it was going to be like, I think it was Jay Baruchel was going to play the Flash. Well, no, Adam Brody was going to play the Flash. And DJ Catrona was going to play Batman. And they were going to film it. And it came up to the last second. And they were going to film in Australia. And then it just never happened. But Army Hammer, before he was in The Social Network, was slated to play Superman at that point.
That was probably a good thing that they never got made.
Probably. It is one of those what ifs, though. Okay, I got 3 left. You want to go now, or do you want me to waste one of mine?
I can go ahead and go now.
Okay.
Because mine is actually my last Batman, but this one's also the villain that goes along with one of them too.
Okay.
So the last Batman I had picked was actually Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Who previously played, spoiler alert, Robin.
Yes. Which, I'll just let you know now, if the movie's been out for more than 5 years, I don't give a fuck about giving spoilers.
And that's
you're
fair.
too late. You're
that's
too late.
fair. I'm just doing it just in case.
I would just be honest with you. If it's been out for a year, that's your problem at that point. It's like, it's out there. Somebody probably's already told you the ending. You know what the podcast is. I'm not fucking around no more.
But you're casting this, by the way. Are you casting it because as the right actor for the choice, or as a continuation?
Both.
Okay.
So, since they want to do a more detective storyline, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's already done that before.
Sure.
In the movie Brick. So think about having same kind of scenario, but in a Batman storyline. Doesn't have to be extremely action oriented. I mean, we've seen him do some small stuff in like Inception and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So we know he can fit.
He can do all that.
But my other cast for that, because the storyline I want to do is actually Hush, which was about Batman's childhood best friend who ends up coming back. I believe his parents end up passing. No. He came back to help Bruce out with a couple of things. And slowly throughout the story, you find out that he has become a bit deranged. And he is a gifted surgeon, kind of like how Bruce is with all his genius knowledge and everything else. This is kind of him with surgery. And towards the end of the story, he actually ends up becoming Bruce Wayne by performing surgery on himself to look like him. But he's committing all these crimes, making it look like it's Bruce Wayne at the same purpose.
That's interesting.
But the casting for that I actually had is Leonardo DiCaprio. They actually had a good chemistry going on in Inception. Mm-hmm. And DiCaprio pretty much gives his all to everything he has. And I'm thinking back to Django Unchained, where I can never remember his name in the movie.
Calvin Caddy?
Yeah.
Calvin Candy.
Yeah.
His Candyland, yeah.
Yeah, old Candy. That right there is probably
he's amazing in that movie.
That's like my favorite role for him. Love it. It's hilarious. He played it perfectly. He had a fucking chunk of crystal in his hand and still kept on going.
What I love about him is that he commits with every fiber of his being to every role. He's amazing.
And see, that's the thing. Since he commits that hard, who else would you rather have to start trying to copy, try to emulate, and try to be another actor? We know he can do it.
100%.
So for this storyline to have them meet up with each other, and then eventually, as the story progresses, you start to learn of Leonardo's whole mental disorders and everything else, and then at the end of the movie and they've been doing decent with the whole CGI,
Sure.
younging, the aging, and everything else. It doesn't have to be this whole huge close up on it, and then they keep showing it. It can just be one small reveal. The fight scene, ensues, or whatever the final scene is, and then it goes off, or it concludes. That's all it has to be. But it would be pretty much it would be a nice, deep, in-depth story as a detective story. But also,
and if he's playing the villain, right, then it would be the most likely way you can get him to be in one of these.
Exactly.
To be in a one-off.
Yeah, and here's the thing: all of these movies can be either Elseworld stories, and that's what DC calls their multiversal stories.
Sure.
Elseworld. They don't have to stick with the traditional Gotham City, whatever fucking year it is, because God only knows, and it's 1950s aesthetics. But
well, because for context too, because Reeves is doing a trilogy. That's already been discussed.
Ooh.
So I'm just saying, it's a three-parter situation. The only consistency is going to be probably the main players of Batman, Commissioner Gordon, and whoever else. The villains are going to come and go, presumably.
So that would actually work out really well because Hush was pretty much a miniseries,
Sure.
and he didn't really pop up too much often. He did from time to time, but that would actually work out where the first movie can be Hush.
Mm-hmm.
It concludes you don't kill him off. He's in Arkham, or he might have gotten away. We just don't know. Move on to the next villain. That it could be anything. It could be fucking Calendar Man, who has one of the best stories. If you've never read, was it Batman: The Longest Holiday?
Mm-hmm.
But that was another miniseries, and just do that. Pretty much one-off comics make great movies because they don't need anything else. They're all encapsulated. There doesn't need to be a sequel for it.
Which is what I want, because it provides stakes. And that's my big thing that I hate about superhero movies, is that it's like, oh, Iron Man is in Iron Man 1 and he's in peril. I wonder if he's going to come out alive or not. It just infuriates me because there are never any stakes. And although Batman's not going to be in danger, really, in the first one, presumably, or second one, still, there's actually gravity to that.
Well, I think part of that, though, is just kind of the culture that we're in, because you already know if the movie does well, they're going to try to make a sequel regardless.
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, there used to just be, it was a movie, and you might have got a sequel, you probably didn't. It's like,
No, it's one of my more cinematic, curmudgeonly elements, I guess, is the fact that I want stakes, and like comic book movies don't have that, and fucking of course they don't. And yet I still feel that way.
Well, I said, when they tell you all the movies that are going to come out in the next 5 years, it's kind of impossible to actually have any stakes in it, because it's like, well,
yeah,
we know there's 3 Batman movies. He can't get killed in the first 2. It's like he can't get killed in the first 2. Yeah. But if they just like, well, we're going to make a Batman movie.
Hey, Thanos snapped his fingers, but we already have Black Panther 2 on the schedule. We already have in July a new Spider-Man movie coming out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna get through my last 3 real fast then for Batman.
All right.
They are Jake Gyllenhaal. I still argue that. I think he's great. I can understand that. That's why I was saving that one for later. Fair enough. I think Dan Stevens would be a really good Batman.
Dan Stevens.
He stars in Legion, the TV show.
I
think he'd be really good. He's really good at playing characters with darkness in them. I think he'd be really interesting. He's done dark hair in that movie The Guest, which is kind of a John Carpenter-esque film from like 3-4 years ago, which I really liked. I think he's really multifaceted. I think he'd be really interesting.
Yeah, I think it could work. Yeah.
And the last one is Charlie Hunnam, a.k.a., Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
I'm kind of conflicted because I like Charlie, but
I think he can do it.
I don't know. I don't think he could pull it off.
You know what? You know what movie really showed me something with him? Like in terms of the full breadth of what it seems he can do is
Pacific Rim.
What? Fuck that movie. Lost City of Z. That movie really showed me something, and he was really good. And by the way, the other main character opposite him in that for most of the movie was Robert Pattinson, interestingly enough, and they both are fantastic in that movie. But the person that all these lists are saying who should play Batman, the one person that keeps coming up and coming up is Oscar Isaac. That's what people keep saying over and over again.
He could do it.
I think he can do it. He's a great actor, and the only comic book movie he's been in where he was caked up in makeup and nobody could tell who he was anyway when he played Apocalypse.
Yeah.
In that fucking awful movie.
Yeah, I can see him doing it.
That's the one who comes up a lot. They're saying John Hamm as well, and I'm like, no, thank you.
Actually, John Hamm as older Batman wouldn't be bad. I mean, that's essentially Don Draper.
What's the difference between him and Affleck, really?
Because John Hamm actually wants to do it.
Fair.
Like I said, Ben Affleck should have never did this to begin with. And his acting is not...
He doesn't have enough presence at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, his acting is not like this amazing thing. But John Hamm, when he actually does roles, he puts himself in that role. So
I could see it, but I wouldn't want it. I think it'd be distracting to me personally.
That's the thing. Like Don Draper from Mad Men, that's essentially Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It's like women want to be around him, guys want to be him. He drinks in the office. He does what the fuck he feels like doing. He has all this money. It's like he already has the cast. Well, he already has the experience for it already.
Sure.
It's like it could work.
I mean, he's got Mad Men, I guess, is the proof of concept on that. One thing that's been kind of mentioned too is that possibly the Penguin is going to be one of the villains. That's been rumored for some time.
Yeah.
And these are the people I thought about for the Penguin. I think one person who I'd love to see is the Penguin, who has been in a comic book movie, but he was barely in one, and they didn't do anything further with it. Paul Giamatti. I think he'd be really good.
As long as he didn't ham it up.
That's what I mean. No, if
they actually did
he
the
could
Penguin
easily
like the
ride
Penguin.
that line. I think though if he went for like the serious darkness that he can do, versus like winking at the camera and then waddling like a penguin, I think he'd be really good.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like everybody remembers like the Danny DeVito Penguin,
Yes.
but the Penguin in the comics isn't like some comedic dude. He's actually like a real ass fucking gangster. They called him the Penguin, and he was like, "Fuck it, that's what you're gonna call me." That's the new gangster name now.
Because I have his key traits as master manipulator, extreme wealth provides supreme resources, relies on cunning, wit, and intimidation, generally seen as being more rational and sane than other Batman villains. Dangerous hand-to-hand combat, but that he's got arguably the most in-touch, knowledgeable villain in all of Gotham.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's street level. Penguin's not trying to take over the world. He's just trying to run essentially he's pretty much like Kingpin.
Okay.
Only just on a very much smaller scale.
Okay. My ideal casting, which is to say, to preface with R.I.P., I think Philip Seymour Hoffman would have been pretty fantastic in that role. But I mean,
Maybe.
it's a moot point either way. Tom Hollander, an English actor.
Tom Hollander.
He's a smaller guy. If we're gonna go for more of the kind of typical height-based casting, I think he'd be really good because he was in the Night Manager, excuse me, the miniseries on AMC, and he was really good in that. He was in a kind of a dramedy TV show called Rev. He's been in a lot of stuff. I mean, you've seen him in stuff before. He's really good.
Looking at his picture, I haven't. Okay, never. It's funny because like literally all the stuff you named, I'm looking at it now. I haven't seen anything.
Really?
He's
been in a lot of stuff though. But
yeah, like I've never watched. Well, I watched maybe a few minutes of Hannah. I never watched the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
That's fine.
I didn't. Rev, that's where I actually recognize him from, but it's because I remember seeing that on Hulu. Because I think that was one of the ones they imported over to Hulu for a while.
And my other choice too is Michael Stuhlbarg, who was in. You don't recognize him at all? He was in Call
Yeah.
Me by Your Name. He was in The Serious Man, The Shape of Water. Uh, he played Meyer Lansky in Boardwalk Empire, and he's very good. I think he could be really good in that role.
I had to actually see him acting, but looking at him though, he'd make a good penguin. Is that penguin doesn't have to be just some like huge fat obese dude, but his face is a little angular.
Yeah.
It already kind of looks a little bit like what the penguin needs to look like, you know. Yeah, that'll actually work out.
So there's that. I had one person for the Joker, and that'd be Lakeith Stanfield. I think he'd be really interesting.
It would, but I don't know. Just, and I don't know whether it was because of. I don't think it was him. I think it was just because of the writing. But did you ever watch Death Note on Netflix?
Yeah. To me, he was the only saving grace of that show, of that thing.
And see, that was the thing. He was decent in it, but it was still just. That's what I would kind of think like his Joker would be like. Not so much the Jared Leto, but more kind of weird.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like
I could see that. I guess that's part of what excites me, though, about the idea of him being in the role is because I don't know what it would be. I don't know what route he would go.
And see, that's the thing. It's not him for casting. I think he actually be great. It's just I don't know where they would go with him because I think they were wrong in trying to do the Joker as like this new age, gangster type of thing, social media gangster type of shit. That should have never been on there. And I'm hoping they wouldn't go the same way with him, but at the same time, like I wouldn't want him to be your traditional Joker.
Sure.
Like
I just know I don't want the Jared Leto Joker.
nobody wants a fucking Jared Leto Joker.
Which
I don't want Jared Leto.
I mean,
so.
we already know he's done. That's already come out, so that's fine. But I mean, obviously, in the look, the vibe, any of that, that to me was just a fucking train wreck. And yet, it was to me the most interesting thing about Suicide Squad. Actually, that's not really true. It was more of a intriguing because we barely got anything from him. He was in it like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But Margot Robbie was the best thing about that to me.
And like I fell asleep.
It's not good at all.
I think my favorite thing was actually Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
She was good.
That was really what I wanted to see the most was Amanda Waller,
and she's in it 10 minutes. If that.
Yeah, like I said, the few minutes she had, it was decent. But like I said, I don't even remember what was his name, Slipknot, the one that pretty much he popped up. He didn't even get like the little splash page like everybody else did. And then
you're talking about the dude who was brought in a bag, in a duffel bag, and then fuck that thing. So they brought him in as a duffel bag, clearly of like I think it seems like purely for comedic effect.
No. That's Boomerang. I'm talking about. I can't remember his name, but he got out of the Jeep. He just jumps out, and his whole thing was he had ropes, and he could like tie any type of knot and do all this other shit. I can never remember his name. I think his name was Slipknot in the comics, but
he was in that movie.
Yeah,
I have no recollection of that.
Okay, whenever they're doing everybody's little splash and everything else, so he didn't get one. He literally just jumps out, and they're like, "This is whoever his name is." He said a couple of little lines, and then they go off.
He's not the one who climbed the building and blew up?
Yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about, too.
Okay.
Yeah. He was like, he never got his little montage with all the bullshit. But then it was like, he talks to Boomerang, and then he's like, I'm going to go. Do you want to go? I'll go. And then he runs, and they got the little explosive device on their chin. And then he runs up the side of the building. They immediately press a button, and he dies. And that's it.
Like that.
And I'm like, what are we doing?
I fell asleep before that part even hit. I ended up just watching that on YouTube afterwards.
That movie truly is extraordinary, but in no way in a positive way. I had a couple of thoughts too. In terms of who I'd want to play Alfred, I think John Lithgow would be great. I would love to see him in that role. I think these are the 5 people. One of which I don't feel like can be chosen because he already played him in the Lego Batman movie. Ray Fiennes would be great. I have wide-ranging ages, but Anthony Hopkins, Sam Neill, Ben Kingsley, Patrick Stewart, John Lithgow. Sam Neill would be pretty cool. but he's like 65 or something, but he looks younger.
I would want Patrick Stewart.
I think Patrick Stewart would be great.
That right there might be the best thing. Like, yeah, I would want Patrick Stewart.
Okay. I have one person for Catwoman, Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
You really have to look her up.
I do.
She was in The Looper. She was in The Edge of Tomorrow. She was in The Quiet one from last year, whatever that's called. I think she's great. For the Riddler, I have Ed Norton, David Tennant, Paul Bettany, Michael Fassbender.
I'll just tell you now, Michael Fassbender.
That's fine.
Nah.
That was my last one on that list. But Ed Norton, David Tennant, Paul Bettany.
Man, I don't know about Ed Norton. I think I kind of see him as it, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know how he would play it, and neither does he.
But that's the reason why I'm like, I don't really know if he would fit, just because his track record so far has just kind of been very.
I also am just fearful he'd be a fucking pain in the ass for the entire production.
Yeah.
Because he can be very sulky.
Like, I think he could play a decent Riddler, but I don't think that's the thing. I don't know if he would. It's kind of another one of those things where, like I said, John Hamm. I think John Hamm could do it.
Sure.
I think he could do it, but I don't think he would be dedicated like
That's
John
probably
Hamm would
fair.
be for his role.
I also have on that, although this is a different age generally, I think Paul Dano would be great in it. But I just love that dude, and I think he should be in it in some way or another anyway. I think he's amazing.
There was somebody else I was thinking of for.
I wish Michael Shannon would be in this movie in some capacity, whether that be as Gordon or somebody else, because he's just amazing. He's my favorite actor.
Michael Shannon is your favorite actor?
100%. Yes.
And see, the thing is,
I
actually,
love him.
I know who I would want him to be.
Who?
Just because every time I look at his face, he just looks like a fucking villain. KG Beast, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be. Well, of course, that's another one of those one-off things. But that was one of the ones where dude actually killed Batman, and it was like a back and forth type of situation. But the only problem is KGB is Russian, and that dude has the thickest fucking countryist.
Well, he doesn't have, first of all, he doesn't have a country accent in real life. Second of all, in The Little Drummer Girl, he played somebody with a German accent or Israeli accent. Point being, he can do accents. And it was really effective. I think he could absolutely do a Russian accent.
If you could do that, yeah. I could see him as KGBs.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much take the look of Zod, cut one arm off, and put something on it, give him a Russian accent. Yeah, I think that would work out. Yeah.
For this topic, that's all I got. I mean, it really is just... It's all shots in the dark because we don't really know what the fuck's going on.
No, I mean... You know, I just say this right now. I don't actually have any expectations for anything from DC. I'm of the ilk now that just I'll see the movie whenever I see the movie. For the DC run and Marvel movies I have the ones I want to see. I think I'm slowly getting on the burned out end of the comic book franchise now.
I'm pretty tired of it, honestly.
I think it wouldn't be that bad. It's just that these are the only movies I have to look forward to throughout the year.
Sure.
Like when the only things I know that are typically going to be worth my money to go see in a theater is a comic book movie, and I would like to see something a little bit different. That just kind of makes me a little sad now.
And that's where Into the Spider-Verse came in?
Yeah. Like Spider-Verse is great, though. Like,
no, that's what I mean, though. In a positive way of it being completely outside that box.
Yeah, it was fresh. It was different. And
God, it was so good.
I wish they would do more. I wish they would do actually more animated comic book movies than live action. Just because live action, you got to do casting. You have to have a good script written.
There's so much infrastructure in that.
Yeah, with CG and all this other shit, that CG still isn't where exactly it needs to be for some of these movies anyway. So,
well, and also by the very nature of the fact of, I mean, part of my casting was driven by the looks of the people. Obviously, with animated, it could be who embodies that person the most without even having to factor that in.
Yeah. So,
like, by the way, Jay Johnson would never play Spider-Man in a live-action movie,
no.
But he's great as one of the Spider-Men in Into the Spider-Verse. He's really good in that.
Yeah, he was fuck up Spider-Man.
He was really funny.
Which, Speaking of Into the Spider-Verse, don't know if you've caught wind of it, but it's been going around how there's extra cameo scenes from Stan Lee, and I've actually found one. There's a scene where Miles is running alongside the train, subway train, and if you slow it down frame by frame,
He's in there.
yeah, he's actually in one of the windows doing the classic Spider-Man foot pose.
Nice.
But apparently, like, he's all throughout the movie, and they were saying how believe that Into the Spider-Verse was his last cameo while he was alive.
Mm-hmm.
So since that was his last one, they ended up actually wanting to do more of a tribute. So if you watch throughout the movie, apparently you have to slow it down to catch most of them. But there's like 5 or 6 different like cameos just for Stan in there.
I like that a lot.
So yeah,
I respect that. All right, as a quick wrap up, have you seen anything lately?
We watched for coincidentally Valentine's Day, Big Mouth, the
Valentine's Day
yes,
special.
Yes, My Furry Valentine.
I've heard it's really good. I haven't watched it yet.
It's essentially it's a dual episode. It's 46 minutes long.
Okay.
And I mean, essentially, if you got it, picks up right where season 2 left off. So Nick has his new hormone monster. Jay is still in his weird bisexual pillow relationship. And Andrew is slowly becoming more like his dad.
Okay.
And yeah, it's pretty much, if you like the first 2 seasons, it's going to be exactly what you thought it was. It's more of the same, but it's still just as funny.
I think that show is so good. I love that show.
I will say that the jokes on there, they really hit. They seem like they hit harder this time for just this like quick 46-minute episode. Which I say quick because it seemed like it just like went past, and right when it ended, you just want some more of it. So I don't know when it's supposed to be coming back, but yeah, it's pretty much, it was worth waiting for Valentine's Day to watch it.
And I love the fact that they just, I mean, I guess it's kind of their normal thing, but they dropped it, within a week of having announced that it existed.
Yeah.
I still need to watch that. I'm bringing up my letterbox diary here where it has everything listed. But I've seen a lot of random stuff. I watched Overlord, High Flying Bird. I watched on Netflix. Abducted in Plain Sight, Netflix. The documentary They Shall Not Grow Old. I rewatched Skyfall, Collateral, and Edge of Tomorrow. Just on a random kick. I saw Creed 2.
Okay. I still haven't seen it yet.
It was fine.
Hmm.
I think part of the problem is that seeing Creed 1 with, relatively no expectations at the time and loving it. And then now you have this new one directed by a different person with some expectations. And I liked it.
Mm.
It's Rocky 4. For sure. Which is not a complaint, by the way.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I think where for you liked it. I think I would love it because that's what I wanted, was essentially the Rocky 4 rematch.
And that's basically what it is.
Like I said, since
and Dolph Lundgren's really good.
And see, that's all I wanted. I was like, as long as they keep Dolph Lundgren in it, and since I saw him in the trailer, I was like, bless you people.
He's really good. He's really good too. I saw that. I saw that new Robin Hood movie with Taron Egerton.
Yeah.
And it's really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Yeah, I watched that one on YouTube.
It's really bad.
Yeah. I wish they went more. I wish they curved more into the badness than trying to.
That's the thing, though. It is so not good, and then also in no way campy, and just like, no, this is the serious Robin Hood, and then it's so bad, and it doesn't lean into it on any level.
No, like I think that's where they messed up. I think if they had just went ahead and just like, fuck it.
If they embraced the kitschy, it could have been fun.
Yeah, just like, fuck it, let's make this be over the top. They're using crossbows and Gatling bows and shit, and it's like, just...
And dear God.
Go ahead and keep going.
And the fact that their little spin on it was like, they don't call him Robin and Locksley, they call him Rob. They don't call him Robin Hood, they call him The Hood.
Yeah, it was just like...
It's like, good Lord.
I wish that they would make these movies like the... I don't know if you remember the Full Moon franchise back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that like produced like what was it? They put out the Puppet Master franchise.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, like all the Full Moon production movies. They were like all like terrible ass like B movies.
But they were fully aware of that.
Yeah, and like they were all fucking fun and like entertaining because they knew they were going to be bad. Like this is one of those movies where they knew halfway through production this was going to be bad, and it's like you should have just went ahead and embraced the whole thing and just kept going.
They could have done some kind of like shooting alts, and then found that movie in the editing bay,
Yeah,
done editing room, and then done some. I mean something, but it was. Yeah, I did not like it at all. I finished, watched all of Russian Doll on Netflix.
all right.
It's really good. It's a really good TV show. And I actually today watched the first episode of The Umbrella Academy.
Okay, let's say a friend of mine, Jay, actually sent me a message saying that I need to start watching that, which I was already excited for it, but I didn't know how it was going to be just because of Netflix.
Sure.
Sometimes their superhero shows are a hit, and sometimes they're just kind of But this one looks like it was going to be better than most of the stuff they put out.
The first episode, it's well made. I'm not really into it personally, but I think it's well made.
And that's the thing. It's one of those things. It's in kind of the same universe as like Hellboy and stuff like that. So if you're kind of into that whole world, then I think you'll be more into it. But
Sure. It's got the vibe of it, though, of where it's like, it's of a certain time, but then it's of no time at the same time. Kind of like, in a weird way of like, Lemony Snicket. You look at it and you're like, oh, I know when that is, but then it's not at all.
essentially, it's like well, this is from the same people that did the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
And fair enough.
So,
Okay. It has that vibe to it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you've seen Hellboy, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. You know
Sure.
what you're kind of getting into.
Yeah, to me, it was like, it's kind of a superficial show to me. Like, it has, like, the weight of it there isn't a lot to that, I guess. It kind of feels unearned from what I've seen of it from the first episode. I thought it was fine, and it definitely comes as cues a little bit more of a slightly younger audience, I guess, to me. Not like young, but it's got, I don't know. I guess I'm still processing it, but to me it wasn't amazing. When I see the fact that I have 9 episodes left at an hour each, I don't want to spend 9 more hours watching it, so I'm just not going to. It's just a lot to commit.
Yeah, I guess so. Because I mean, I never started Defenders. Jessica Jones. Well, actually, no, I finished Jessica Jones season 2.
I never watched. I didn't watch most of the Marvel TV shows.
Yeah, I'll say that Netflix needs to trim down their shows. 10 episodes for a lot of their shows is too much. Trim it down to like 6, 8. I think like Luke Cage season 2 was like 13. I never even started. I hadn't even finished Luke Cage season 1. Once I got rid of Cottonmouth and I watched the next episode, I was like, "Fuck this." Like,
Well, and
I was very
all
upset.
these are dying anyway. The Marvel stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
until,
Cage is gone.
yeah, that's just until it gets rebooted and they recast everybody for the Disney streaming network.
Oh yeah, they're coming hardcore with Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to think if there was anything else that I saw. No. I don't think it. And watched much TV this week.
Fair enough.
Actually, I don't even think I've even read anything this week. No, I hadn't read any comics, no books, no nothing. Like it's literally just been get off work, go home, pass out.
Repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I did see Polar, and I don't recommend. I got through 42 minutes of it.
I loved it.
I hated it.
Loved it. It was fun.
What a fucking mess.
It was fun.
Couldn't stand it. I held out, and I just couldn't do it anymore.
But you made it through Hereditary.
That's a great movie. That's a great movie. Polar. Yeah, I got through 43 minutes and 2 seconds.
I still love it.
I couldn't do it.
I'm kind of hoping they actually make a sequel for it.
They might. Look, one thing that Netflix is doing is that, they're losing all these different license deals because all these other companies are now creating their own streaming platforms. So Netflix is really banking on Netflix subscribers liking Netflix made shows and movies. And I'm not a huge fan of them overall. But that's what they're banking on.
Yeah. I'm not really a fan of much of them either. I did enjoy Polar. There was one other one that there was one CGI one that came out. I can't remember what it was, like last year, that I enjoyed. But
Did you see the trailer for Love, Death, and Robots?
no.
It's an animated anthology. It's going to be on there. They just came out with the trailer yesterday, and it's or the day before, and it's an animated anthology that's going to be premiering March 15th, I think, and it's produced by David Fincher
Mm.
and whatever the dude's name is who directed David Leitch, maybe, I don't remember, but he directed co-directed John Wick, and he directed Deadpool 2.
Okay.
And he actually directed the Terminator movie that comes out this year.
Yeah, that right there, that's still a wild card. Terminator's
There's
been
no
bad
telling.
for years.
I mean, there's no telling with that at all. At all.
Yeah, like I said, Terminator's been terrible
But
since Terminator 2.
yeah,
Well,
it's called Love, Death, Robots.
I'm a little iffy on the animated anthologies, just because most of those usually work better as kind of like the whole Animatrix thing, where they like did the 15, I think like maybe like 10 to 15 minutes for each one.
I think that might be what they're doing here.
Okay.
Like, it's R-rated.
Okay.
It could be really interesting. I'll show you the trailer after.
Yeah. There is one movie that I am actually, while I don't care for horror, I was very impressed with the trailer. It's called Ma, and it stars Octavia Spencer. That right there probably was like one of the scariest trailers I've seen, just because of this is one of those situations where it can be a real thing. Like, and it was very off-putting how she kind of flipped that switch, but that was what was so impressive about it. And I was like, you know what? This one actually looks like a good movie this year. Like,
She's really good, too.
yeah, like it's to see her move from essentially being the sidekick role for the most part to finally having like the lead and then being the lead villain or antagonist for a movie. It's like, damn, I want to see how this works out.
I would like to just see her in that role because I think she can play very similar roles, and she's very good at it, by the way. But I'd like to see something different.
Yeah, like I said, I think this right here will probably be her. I think this will probably be one of the things that finally gets her to getting that leading lady role that she actually deserves.
Oh, it's directed by Tate Taylor, same dude who did The Help, and what she won Best Supporting Actress for, right?
Yeah, but I don't care for The Help.
Yeah, that's fair. It's one of those things where I said, "Oh," because I didn't realize it till I.
Yeah, but I'll give him the. It's one of those things. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Let this ride out.
I just realized I haven't seen this trailer. Okay, I want to watch that in a second. Okay.
Well, yeah, but
That's
it.
all I got.
Yeah, so
Thank
tune
you.
in next time in the future.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, next year, sometime.
Thank you.
We're out, people.
Bye.